Are you always losing your Catan games, then left wondering, what could I have done better? Then afterwards you say, oh well, the game is luck anyways. You're wrong. The problem most likely comes from replacements. I'm delighted and I've won multiple online and in-person Catan tournaments. And by the end of this video, you'll learn placement concepts you need to know if you want to start winning your own Catan games. So let's take a look at this board in the first position. So go ahead and pause the video. If you are in the first position, what would you take and why? So go ahead and pause. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Now, many players would take the 5-8-10 ore wanting to secure the ore dominance. Others would take the 3-4-5 to get both the ore and the wheat, or even the 3-4-6 to get both ore, wheat, and the 3-1 port. People may also consider taking the 3-4-8 to get that rare brick on the board, as wood is super common. And another fine alternative is the 5-6-11. You get wood, brick, and strong ore, with the expansion spot of the 3-11 doubling up on the wheat and the rare brick. But what if I told you all of these spots are actually wrong as a first pick? There is an objective best first position pick, and that is the 6-9-10. So how did we figure this out, and why is it the best? Well, first of all, it's the best because it's one of the highest producing spots on the board at 13 pips of production, and you actually have access to 2 3-1 ports, so you're guaranteed to get a solid port, and it's also the best wheat on the board. But the most important reason why the 6-9-10 is the best spot on the board as first pick is actually because of the potential second settlement. So a common rule for the first position is to check the edge of the board for your second settlement. This is because there's a high chance one of these spots are going to be open, as no one is going to place there. In this case, we know someone is going to take the 3-5-8 or the 5-8-10, which leaves open the 3-8 or the 8-10 spot. Both spots have a 3-1 port. So when you take the 6-9-10, no matter what, we're guaranteed a very solid second settlement, and that is why it's the best spot on this board. So let's take a look at this board, which is the semifinals of the World Championship Series. We have Bo Peng, who I personally think is one of the best players in the world. He's placing in the first position. And where does he place? Well, he places on the 5-6-9. So he does this for a few reasons. One, because it's the highest producing spot on the board, at 13 pips, the little dots under the numbers. Second of all, he points his road upwards because there's actually a brick port over there, and the brick port allows him to be very flexible. And the most important reason is that he's checking the edges of the board to see what goes well with the 5-6-9. First of all, the 5-6-9 spot matches well with the 8-10 settlement, as you could potentially build to the 8-3. It also matches well with the 3-6 spot or the 9-6 spot. And if you fast forward the placements, you'll see that these spots are actually all open: the 8-10, the 8-3, and the 6-3. And Bo Peng decides to choose the 6-3 because that's the best spot that complements the 5-6-9. So the key trick here is when placing your first settlement, you have to think about, what will I be getting for my second settlement? And will my first settlement match very well with that second settlement? In this case, the 5-6-9 matches very well with the 6-3. And back to our first example, the 6-9-10 matches very well with the 8-3, the 8-10. And because of that, the 6-9-10 is the best spot as a first position, and on this World Championship board, that's why the 5-6-9 is the best position here. Now, there's something I didn't mention about the 6-9-10 spot and why it's super special on this board, and that is that it's a corner wheat spot. So whenever you have a spot that's on the corner on one of these spots over here, that is when it shines, because one of these corner spots, well, it doesn't get blocked very often. Let's take a look at this board over here. Once again, blue has a corner 5 wheat, which means that 5 wheat won't ever be getting blocked because, well, it's only him who's on it. He doesn't share this tile with anyone else. The same thing happens with the 6 ore down here. It's not going to be getting blocked very often because, well, it's only one person on it. And it's a little bit weird to solo block someone, especially when it's early in the game. But if you look at the spots such as the 8 wood, the 8 brick, and the 5 ore, these spots are all very likely to get blocked because 2 people are on it. So because ore and wheat are the most valuable resources in the game, if you can, you want to be taking one of the corner or wheat spots because, well, it doesn't get blocked very often. And that's why on this board here, the 6-9-10 is very special because this is a corner wheat. So for the third placement concept, let's take a look at this board over here where I play a Catan ranked match. So I'm in the second position and I take the 5-6-9 and I point my road to the left. It's just the best spot on the board in general. So now my opponent over here, Orange, decides to take the 5-8-10 and point the road upwards, threatening to cut me off onto the 9-10. But what Orange doesn't realize is, well, when it gets back to me, there is a strong spot for me to take, which is the 3-6-11, which allows me to get a starting wood and a brick, which means I have a starting road for my first turn of the game. So that means it's pretty much impossible for Orange to beat me to the race to the 9-10 spot. And because I get the 9-10, well, I become a very happy person, and that is critical for my success within this game. So, in general, be wary of starting roads and how you can use them or how you can get abused by them. Now, let's take a look at another example, really exemplifying this. So this is a very basic concept, but I still see it happen all the time in high-stakes tournament games. So let's take a look at the Catan Championship Finals. White over here places on the 3-4-8 and then points the road right. But this is very, very dangerous because, well, blue for the second settlement eventually places on the 3-6-11 and gets that starting wood and brick. And the blue is able to instantly drop a road, cutting off white to the 4-11, which is devastating to the game. So don't be making that mistake in your games as you watch it here. So now for this next placement concept, we're going to go back to the semifinals of the World Championship of 2022. And it's actually my friend playing here, Christian, in the third position. So the principle for third position is you want to choose a spot that's very flexible. And you typically do this by taking the rarest resource. I actually made an entire video about this if you actually want to click on the link right here. So in the third position, you typically want to take the rarest resource. And on this board over here, it's a 3-6-11. And he locks up the rare wheat and he gets a tad bit of that rare ore. And more importantly, he points his road towards the wood port. And on this board, there's a lot of wood. So why does taking the rare resource as a third position matter anyways? The reason is because, well, fourth position is just about to drop 2 settlements and you don't know exactly where they're going to go. So by taking the rare resource, it gives you a lot of flexibility and options. In this case, when Christian takes a 3-6-11, well, he's got a lot of great options. He's got the 5-8-10, the 3-4-8, the 8-3-10, the 5-8-10, and the 3-4-8. All of these are great options for him. And how it actually played out was blue took the 3-4-8 and the 4-5-8. And then Christian was able to get the 5-8-10, which is a monster position, especially with the wood pour online. For the next placement concept, we have to take a look at the resource chart. There are 2 sets of resources that always work together, and that's wood and brick and ore and wheat. So for wood and brick, every single time we drop a road, well, we need a wood and brick. Every single time we drop a settlement, we also need a wood and brick. They are always used together. And the same thing is used for ore and wheat. Every single time you need ore, you also need wheat to drop a city or to buy a development card. So those resources are always going to be used together. So how do we apply this concept in placements? In this tournament game over here, I place on the 4 ore and the 4 wheat. So every single time the 4 rolls, well, I get an ore and a wheat, which helps me get cities very, very quickly, and it leads to me dominating this game. Now, let's take a look at another example in the World Championship final table of 2022. Whoever wins this game becomes the World Championship. And so in this position, we have Hamish playing as red. And he goes on the 6-4-11 and the 2-4-9. It actually starts off with the wood brick, so using one of the concepts from earlier. And he points his road downwards to instantly drop a road onto the 6-2 and settles there very quickly too. So now he's on the 6 ore and the 6 wheat. So every time a 6 rolls, he gets closer to the city or could potentially buy a development card, which allows him to be very actionable. And using this strategy, made him win the game and turned him into a world champion. So this is very effective and powerful. Now, let's apply the same winning concept but one step further. So if you look at this board over here, I'm only playing with 3 resources, which is ore, wheat, and wood. So in theory, it should be pretty hard for me to be building roads and settlements. But if you look at where my opponents have also placed, well, red is on a high concentration of brick and black is also on a high concentration of brick. And remember, wood and brick are used together. So using the same concept as a coordinated rolls from earlier, every single time a 4 is rolled, I get a single wood. There's 2 bricks distributed into the game. What that means whenever a 4 is rolled, well, we can do a wood for brick trade because I need the brick and my opponents need the wood. So even though I'm only playing with wood and have no brick, I actually end up trading my opponents a fair amount, especially whenever the 4 rolls because, they get brick, I get wood. It's a perfect deal for both of us. Now, if you're wondering what website I'm playing on and showing you all these examples, it's called colonist.io. It's the best place to play online Catan. It's actually where I play all my games and tournaments. It's totally free to play and easy to get started. If you want to improve quickly, I actually recommend playing the ranked ladder to play a high volume of games and at a very high caliber. You might even play a game against me, as I'm currently trying to hit rank number 1. So check out the link down below to start playing free online Catan today. Now, for the last placement concept, it requires us to look at this game over here. And this game is actually a tournament game and it's my round 3. So if I win this game, I'd advance to the semifinals. And if I lose, well, you get knocked out of the tournament. So it matters a lot. So I'm placing here as white and it's my second settlement. And basically, there's only black left to place after me. So in this position, I can take a spot such as the 4-5-11, allowing me to get the starting road, or even the 3-10-11, allowing me to get the starting road, expanding to the, let's say, the 2-9-10, or from the 4-5-11 to the 9-10-11. But I have to utilize the concept of defensive placements. So if I don't take the 8-4-3, that means black will get the 8-4-3. And the 8-4-3 for black is very, very strong. So I have to be defensive and take the 8-4-3 to prevent black from getting it. So whenever you place your settlements, you can't just think about how will it benefit me, but you also have to think about, well, how will it hurt or damage my opponent? In this case, you have to take the 8-4-3 no matter what, because if black gets the 8-4-3, it is very, very strong for his position. So the next question is, well, where do we point our road? Do we point our road downwards or left? And this is where we use the placement concept of predicting where your opponents will place, using a little bit of basic calculation. I think in this position, the most likely spot for black to place is either the 9-10 or the 4-5-11. Because of that, we can actually afford to be a little bit greedy and point our road to the left, to the 3-10-11. And if we get the expansion spot, well, we're very, very happy. And in this game, how it plays out is we actually do get that 3-10-11 expansion spot. It's critical for us winning the game. And with that expansion spot, it puts us in a very good position, and we are able to eventually win the game and advance to the semifinals. If you found this video valuable, I also think you'd like this video here, which goes very in-depth in how to play the third position optimally. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.